Your faith still lives, but deep down there's that doubt. Did God choose you too, just the way you are? There's a sacred place where He never stopped whispering your name, even when the silence felt deafening. Today, through Psalm 23, you'll discover that His protection has always been waiting for you. I know there are mornings when you wake up and the mirror reflects more than just a face. It reflects questions about your place in God's plans. Maybe you wonder if you still fit into the story He's writing. But I want to whisper a truth to your heart. The Lord's mercies are new every morning. And that renewal includes every part of who you are. Every beat of your heart is a new declaration that He has beautiful purposes reserved for your life. Even when the world tries to convince you otherwise, His presence remains unshakable by your side. When harsh voices try to define your worth based on human standards, remember this: God sees beyond appearances. He knows every tear shed in the silence of dawn, every prayer whispered between four walls, every moment you questioned whether you deserve His closeness. And you know what He does? He keeps extending His hand, saying, "Come as you are." No matter how many doors have been slammed in your face, the door to His heart always remains open. Every breath is a new opportunity to experience His transforming grace. Sometimes we carry the illusion that we need to become perfect to earn His attention. But the most beautiful truth is that God works through our brokenness, not despite it. He takes fragments of wounded hearts and creates mosaics of hope, transforms scars into sources of compassion for others. When you feel different from the standard, take a deep breath. It was He who designed you unique, with a mission that only your hands can fulfill. Your authenticity isn't an accident. It's purposeful, intentional, divine. Time continues its course, but every second is an open window for you to encounter His renewing presence. While circumstances scream that you're a stranger, He whispers that you're family. There's nothing in your history, in your choices, or in who you've become that can build walls high enough to separate you from His unconditional love. When this truth finally touches your heart, you realize every moment is a sacred opportunity to live in the fullness of who He dreamed when He created you. There are seasons where your faith seems to be tested beyond the limit you can bear. Maybe you wonder if God really listens when you speak, or cares about your most intimate fears. This is where I want to remind you of the words from Psalm 23. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." This isn't just ancient poetry. It's a spiritual anchor that sustains you when storms of rejection and uncertainty try to pull you away from His presence. Even in the darkest valleys, you don't walk alone. When you feel lost amid judgments and misunderstanding, there's a truth that remains. You have a shepherd who never abandons his sheep. He knows every battle fought in silence, every night you cried thinking no one was watching, every time you questioned whether you still deserve to be part of the flock. And even so, He remains there, whispering, "I know your voice, and you know mine." How many times have religious communities closed doors? He never closed His. Your human rejection doesn't determine His divine acceptance. This shepherd doesn't resemble religious leaders you may have known, those who judge first and love later. He is the good shepherd who leaves 99 safe sheep to search for one that got lost. If you feel lost today between faith and identity, know this: He's actively looking for you. Your sexual orientation, your way of loving, your truest essence. None of this scares Him or pushes Him away. Actually, He loves you with a tenderness that transcends any human understanding, with an acceptance that goes beyond social expectations. This anchor of faith doesn't minimize your pain or deny your real struggles, but it offers a solid foundation where you can lean when everything seems unstable. When the world screams that you don't belong anywhere, Psalm 23 whispers that you belong to His heart, protected, cared for, loved without conditions. And this truth remains unchanged, regardless of whatever storms may come. There's something deeply healing about allowing the words of Psalm 23 to penetrate the deepest wounds of your heart. When you're exhausted from explaining who you are, or constantly defending yourself, These words become balm for your weary soul. He makes me lie down in green pastures and leads me beside quiet waters. Imagine this, a place where you can finally rest without masks, without explanations, simply being who you are. This place exists, and it's located in the center of God's heart. When you read, He refreshes my soul. Allow yourself to feel the real relief that comes with these words. Your soul doesn't need to live in constant state of alert or self-defense. It can find genuine refreshment in His presence. He knows every wound left by harsh words, every scar caused by rejection, every moment you felt completely alone in your journey. And the promise remains. He restores what was broken, renews what was worn out, heals what was wounded. The most powerful part of this divine balm comes when you understand. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Maybe you feel like you're crossing that valley now, where your faith seems to be dying, where you question if God really accepts you as you are. But listen to the promise that echoes through the centuries. He is with you, especially in this darkest and most frightening place. His presence is real, even when your feelings say otherwise. This balm doesn't offer escape from reality, but supernatural strength to face it with your head held high. When you allow these words to touch the most painful parts of your being, something begins to be restored from the inside out. You begin to understand a liberating truth. You don't need to change to be loved. You're already loved, exactly as you are. And this discovery has power to transform not only how you see yourself, but how you live your faith. How many times have you felt like biblical promises were meant for other people? Those who fit perfectly into molds, who never had to hide who they are. My cry today is for you to understand. Every promise of peace, every word of love, every verse of hope was written thinking of you too. When God said, "I love you with everlasting love," He was looking directly into your eyes, knowing every detail of who you are. There's no edited version of divine love. There's only complete, unconditional, and transforming love. When you read about the Good Shepherd who calls his sheep by name, know that He knows your true name. Not just what's on the documents, but who you are in the deepest part of your being. He calls you with infinite tenderness, even when you feel invisible or misunderstood by the world around you. His promises of provision include your deepest need, to be accepted, to belong, to be loved without conditions or reservations. He sees every hidden tear and responds with love that transcends human limitations. I desire from the bottom of my heart that you understand. God's loving voice is calling you in the midst of all the deafening noise of the world. While other voices scream judgment and condemnation, He whispers words of life and hope directly to your wounded heart. When you feel lost between what religion teaches and what your heart feels, remember, God is infinitely more interested in having an authentic relationship with you than making you fit into molds created by human hands. This personal response from God isn't illusion or positive thinking. It's spiritual reality you can experience today. When you open your heart to Him without masks or pretensions, you'll discover that He was already waiting patiently for this moment. Every word of love you find in Scripture is a personal letter, written especially for who you are, the way you are, at the exact moment you need to hear it most. Maybe you hesitate to surrender completely to God because you've been hurt by people who claim to represent Him. I understand this caution. When you've been rejected or judged in the name of faith, it's natural for your heart to become more careful. But I want to tell you something transformative. Surrendering to God doesn't mean surrendering to human opinions about you. It means surrendering to His unconditional love. When you can separate God from the people who misrepresented Him, you discover that He stands with arms completely open, waiting to embrace you exactly as you are. And if I could tell you something now, it would be this. Surrendering your life to God means trusting that He loves you more than you can imagine. It's not about changing who you are to fit into others' expectations. It's about allowing Him to transform your pain into purpose, your difference into precious gift, your broken heart into a source of compassion for others. When you whisper, "Lord, my life is yours," you're acknowledging that He has already proven His love for you in ways you may not have been able to see completely. This surrender doesn't happen just once, but becomes a daily attitude of renewed trust. On days when you feel most vulnerable, when the world's voices seem louder than God's voice, you can choose to surrender again. It's like saying, "Father, I trust your direction more than my own limited strength." And every time you make this courageous choice, something in you grows stronger because you're leaning on something infinitely greater and more stable than human opinions. May you feel, even today, that this surrender prepares you for whatever life may bring, not because you become invincible, but because you discover you're never alone. When you allow God to fill the empty spaces of your heart with His supernatural peace, when you let Him transform your restlessness into deep serenity, you find a strength that doesn't come from you, but sustains you in absolutely every moment. There are moments when you look at your life and wonder if God really has a plan for someone like you. Maybe you feel like you're navigating a maze with no apparent exit, where every path you try seems to lead to more rejection or misunderstanding. But I want to remind you of a truth that can change everything. God sees what you cannot see. While you visualize only the present difficulties, He has already gone ahead, preparing places of rest and growth specially designed for you. Your journey may be different from most, but that doesn't make it less valuable or blessed. I pray that you understand that these green pastures God prepares are not just places of tranquility, but also unique opportunities for spiritual growth that only you can experience. Your heightened sensitivity, your ability to understand the pain of rejection, your strength to keep loving even after being wounded. All of this are gifts that God is using for something extraordinary. Even the darkest valleys you cross become scenarios of learning and dependence on Him, molding you to become a beacon of hope for others who feel lost. Trusting in God's invisible ways requires courage that's born from faith, not physical sight. When you can't see the next step, when everything seems uncertain and foggy, you can choose to believe that He's orchestrating every movement of your life. This doesn't mean you'll understand all the whys, but it means you can rest, knowing that His plans for you are good and not evil. Your difference isn't an obstacle in divine plans. It's an integral and essential part of them. The promise echoes clear and powerful through time. You will never walk alone. Even when you feel isolated or completely misunderstood, even when it seems no one comprehends your unique journey, God is walking side by side with you. He knows every step you take, every tear that rolls down your face, every small victory you achieve, and this trust transforms the weight you carry. Because you realize you don't need to have all the answers. You just need to trust the one who does. The world insists on trying to define you by your struggles, by the moments you felt lost, by the times you questioned whether you still deserve God's love. But listen carefully. God defines you in a completely different way. He sees you through the lens of victory that Christ already won for you. Victory over rejection, over condemnation, over every feeling of inadequacy that has ever visited you. When He looks at you, He doesn't see someone who needs to be fixed, but someone who has already been redeemed, loved, and accepted unconditionally. Even in the midst of your most intense battles, God prepares a table for you. This means that even when you feel surrounded by voices that judge or reject you, He's honoring you, celebrating you, inviting you to a place of dignity and real purpose. Your presence at the table doesn't depend on other people's approval. It depends exclusively on His love for you. He invites you not despite who you are, but specifically because of who you are. My cry today is for you to understand. When God anoints your head with oil, He's publicly declaring that you have value, purpose, and a unique mission in this world. This oil represents divine honor, not the honor that comes from social conformity, but the honor that comes from being authentically who God created you to be. Your cup overflows not just to bless you personally, but so you become an overflowing blessing to others who feel rejected or misunderstood as you once felt. This is the most beautiful divine reversal that exists. what the world labels as different or inadequate, God calls special and absolutely necessary. Your experiences of pain aren't a waste of time. They transform into powerful testimony of His transforming power. When you finally understand that you're defined by God's victory and not by your fears or past failures, you find a freedom that no one can ever take from you, an identity that no rejection can shake. When you experience God's love tenderly and intimately, something extraordinary happens in your heart. You begin to see others who also need this same transforming love. Maybe you know someone who, like you, feels lost between faith and identity. Someone who carries deep wounds left by cruel religious judgments. Your compassionate heart, molded by your own pain and healing, transforms you into a powerful intercessor for these people. God knows their pain as intimately as He knows yours, and you can become a channel for His peace to reach them in a real way. May you feel, even today, the call to use your healing experience to intercede for others who are still broken and wounded. When you lift up prayers for someone who feels rejected for their sexual orientation, for someone who was expelled from family for being who they are, for someone who completely lost hope and faith, you're exercising a sacred and powerful ministry. Your prayers carry special authority because they come from a heart that intimately knows this pain, that understands deep despair, and also found genuine hope in God's presence. This intercession isn't just an act of love for your neighbor, but also a powerful way for you to strengthen your own faith. When you intercede for others, you're constantly reminded that no one, absolutely no one, is beyond the reach of divine grace. No matter how lost a person may seem, no matter how wounded they are, if God could reach you and transform you completely, He can do the same miracle for anyone. I desire from the bottom of my heart that you become a prophetic voice of hope for those who still haven't been able to hear God speaking directly to their hearts. Your prayer can be the bridge between despair and hope, between rejection and acceptance, between paralyzing fear and supernatural peace. When you intercede for others with this spiritual authority, you not only bless their lives, but also grow exponentially in compassion, humility, and love, becoming more and more like Christ's welcoming heart. There's a crucial moment in your spiritual journey when you realize that faith isn't just something you feel in silence. It's something you need to declare with courage. After experiencing God's unconditional love, after discovering that you're accepted exactly as you are, an irresistible need arises within you to share this discovery with others. When you publicly declare, "I trust in God's promises," you're not just strengthening your own faith, but also planting seeds of hope in the hearts of people who feel exactly the same way you once felt. And if I could tell you something now, it would be that your testimony carries completely unique power. When you share how God loved you despite everything they told you about yourself, when you tell how He embraced you when others cruelly rejected you, you're offering tangible hope to someone who might be in exactly the same place where you once were. Small gestures, like sharing a word of encouragement or a sincere prayer, can impact lives in deeply transformative ways. You never know when a simple declaration of faith can be exactly what someone was desperately needing to hear. Being bold to testify doesn't mean you need to be perfect or have all the theological answers. It means being authentic about your journey, honest about your real struggles, but also crystal clear about God's faithfulness in your life. When you allow your words and attitudes to be genuine reflection of your trust in Him, you become a living example that it's possible to maintain vibrant faith, even when the entire world tries to tell you that you don't belong anywhere. I pray that you feel, even today, that your voice matters deeply in God's kingdom. Your unique experience, your perspective molded by pain and healing, your naturally compassionate heart, all of this composes the testimony that only you can give to the world. When you declare your faith with this authenticity, you not only inspire others, but also reaffirm for yourself the palpable reality of God's love in your life. And this declaration becomes a continuous source of strength and purpose. The spiritual journey wasn't designed to be walked in solitude. And this is especially true for those who have experienced the cutting pain of rejection. God calls you to be part of a community that truly supports, encourages, and lifts up the fallen. Not a community that judges or excludes, but one that faithfully reflects His unconditional love. When you find people who accept you as you are, who celebrate your unique journey and walk side by side with you, you experience an authentic piece of heaven here on earth. My cry today is that you're also called to create this kind of transformative community around you. Your natural sensitivity to others' pain, your ability to welcome without judging, your supernatural strength to keep loving even after being deeply wounded. All of this makes you someone capable of offering the kind of love that heals and restores lives. When you extend your hand to someone who feels rejected, you're reflecting God's heart in tangible and powerful ways. This community doesn't need to be large or formally organized. It can be built through intimate conversations, shared prayers, moments when you're simply present for someone who desperately needs it. It's a space where everyone is genuinely welcome, regardless of their struggles or complicated histories, where grace is greater than mistakes, and where love is infinitely stronger than any judgment. When you're part of this community, you not only receive vital support, but also find deep purpose in supporting others. May you understand, even today, that as you help others walk in faith, you also grow and become more like Christ. It's no coincidence that you went through certain specific experiences. They strategically prepared you to be a source of hope and healing for others who are facing similar battles. Your unique journey qualifies you for a unique ministry of love and welcome that can transform lives and touch hearts in profound and lasting ways. If this prayer touched something deep in you, write your request down below. I want to pray with you. Answer me. Were you abandoned by God? Or had you simply never heard Him speak to who you really are? Your answer could change everything. Subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and come with me on this journey to discover God's unconditional love. In the next prayers, we'll continue exploring how He speaks directly to your heart,